Hi everyone, it's Sorkin. Today we have a problem when we need to implement randomized set class, and the class has three functions. The first function is that the insert, when we are inserting a value to our set. If we can insert, then we are returning true if that value does not exist, right? If we are adding that for the first time. If it already exists, then we are returning false. Another one is that the remove value. So if we can add if the value exists and we are removing that, we are returning true. If the value does not exist, then we are returning false. Another one is GetRandom function, and for the GetRandom function, we need to return the random element from our set. And the important requirement is that each element must have the same probability of being returned. So another important requirement is that all these functions, the time complexity for them should be constant. So average is of 1. So, and we are given an example. In the first example is we are calling the insert function for 1, right? So we are adding 1 to our set. And the next one is that we are calling remove function for 2. Since the 2 does not exist, we are returning false. For the first one, we return true. And the next one is that we are calling insert function, and we're calling for insert function for 2, so we are adding 2 and we are returning true. And the next one is we are calling a GetRandom function. For the GetRandom function, we have 2 elements in our set, right? So we need to randomly return 1 or 2 with the same probability. So we are returning 2 in this case. Let's take this example and work on it. So let's say that we have 1, we have 2, we have 30, and we have 40, and we have 70. So which data structure we are going to use to store our values? We're going to use a hash table here, and for the key we are going to store our values. So 1, 2, 30, and 40 and 70. And for the value, we are going to store in which order we have added them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now let's take a look to our function. So for our insert function, right? For our insert function, we are adding by value. So the time complexity would be constant. And for the remove, it's the same. For the remove, we are finding value. By, so our key is our value, lookup is the constant, and it's also going to be constant. How about our GetRandom function? Our GetRandom function. So why we are maintaining these values, this order? Because we are going to choose among these, right? Among these values, we are going to choose any random number. Let's say randomly we are choosing 3, and we need to return 30 in this case. So to do that, we need to look up. So we are randomly choosing 3, and we need to choose which key is associated with the 3. So to do that, we need to go over each key and look for 3. And in that case, our time complexity would be linear for the GetRandom, but we need to get the time complexity of 1, right? How we can achieve that? So to do that, we are going to maintain one more data structure. We are going to maintain an array where we are going to store our values. So we are going to store the values for each index. So for example, in the first one, in the 0 index, right, we are going to store 1, 2, 30, and 40, and we are going to store 70. So when we are calling GetRandom function, we are randomly choosing an element. Let's say that randomly we are choosing 3 in this case, right? So we are choosing randomly 3. So we need to know the value associated with the 3. So randomly we are looking in our array for that value. So 3, right? So the -1 was because this is the 0-based index. So we are taking the value of 30, right? And we are returning that value. How about the remove function? So for example, for the remove function, let's say that we are removing this value, right? We are removing 30 from here. We are removing 30, so it means that in that case, we need to also remove the 30 from here. So in that case, it means that we are going to have 1, 2, 4 and the 5, so we don't have 3 anymore. So next time when we are generating we are generating a random number, if it generates 3, we cannot return that value. How we can solve that problem? So in this case, instead of removing these elements, what we are going to do, we are going to take the last element that we have and replace value with the 30. So for example, let's say that we want to remove, we are calling the remove function with the 30. So what we are going to do, we are going to find the last element. So what is the last element in our array, right? Last element is 70. We are going to move that. We are going to move that 70 to 30. We are going to remove the last element from here, right? We are going to remove the last element from our map. And now we have 4 elements. So we moved our 70 here, right? So we moved our 70 here. Now the value is 70. And now we have 4 elements. The next time, again, when we are calling our GetRandom function, right? So we are going to take the size of our map. The size of our map is 4. So we are going to choose among these elements, right? We are going to choose among these elements. So 4, let's say that randomly we picked again 3, right? We picked again 3, and this value is now becomes 70. So let's say that randomly we picked 3. If we randomly picked 3, so what it means? It means that we are going to we are going to return 70 in this case, right? And so now let's check one more time. All our function is constant or not. So insert function is, yes, it's constant because inserting value we are inserting value, and we are going to just add the next element. Let's say that the next one we want to add here is 80. So we are going to add 80 and 5, right? So about the remove function. Remove function, yes, we are removing by value. We are removing the last element, but the lookup for that and the lookup in the array is constant, so it's also constant of 1. And the GetRandom, again, it's also constant because what we do actually, we take the size of our hash map, we find the element there, let's say 70, right? And we are returning that element randomly. First thing that we do here, we are creating a hash map with the key and value is being integer, and also we are creating a list of integer, array of integer. And the first one is, let's take a look at our insert function, right? So for the insert function, we are receiving a value. We are checking that if we already have that value, right, by requirement, so we are returning false. If we don't have, so we are adding value and we are adding the last element, right? So whatever the size of our list, we are adding that order. So for example, the first one, we are going to add 0, right? So for the first element that we have added, for the next one, we're going to add 1, 2, 3, and so on. For the list, we are adding that value for that index, and we are returning true. How about the remove function? For the remove function, again, we are checking that if it does not contain our value, so which means that there is nothing to remove, we are returning false. The next one is that we are from the map, we are getting the index of that value, right? And we are looking in our and also from we are getting the last value, because again we are moving the last value to that index. So we are getting that last value and we are setting in our list, so we are replacing that, we are moving the last value to that index, right? Whatever index that we are removing. And the next one is that we are, for that index, we are not removing from that index, right? We are updating with the last value. And the next one is we are removing the last element from our list, and we are removing the last element from our map, and we are returning true. And for the GetRandom, what we do here is that we are just selecting from 0 to whatever the size of our list, we are choosing that number, and we are randomly returning. So we are randomly choosing that number, and from that list we are returning that value, whatever is associated with that index. So what's the time and space complexity? Time complexity for all these three should be constant, so our time is constant. And for the space complexity, we are using two data structures here, and for both cases it's going to be the size of the elements that we have added to map and the list, so it's going to be 2 of n, and we are taking that as an and time complexity. Okay, that's it for today. Hope you like my content. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. See you next time. Bye.